What's going on, everybody? Today I am over here at this chem bench about to make almost 300 serums, 278 to be exact. I am projecting about 125,000 caps after everything is said and done and all those serums are sold. So stay tuned and then let's break down how much I get, how many times super duper procs, and how much money I'll actually make in the end. So before we get into anything, just to make sure if you're ever doing something like this, go into your perks, ensure that you have super duper. People mention that if you have a higher luck, you should have a higher chance for super duper to proc. I personally think it's a lot of just RNG. If you want to add that to something you want to try to boost, then by all means, try to get whatever aid that you can to help, or a chem, let's just say. But for right now, I do have super duper. I do have chemist on, but chemist does not help. That's not related to what I'm doing here. And when I go down to serums, this character is the character that has all of the serums learned. This was something I invested in when the game was still allowing you to get serums from the Scorch Beast Queen. I did manage to pick up a few blueprints, not only from the Scorch Beast Queen, but from vendors at the time. And over time, I've come to making serums as a pretty good way for me to make caps. I did make another video that I still need to post. I'm not sure if that'll be kind of a bonus, but this is more of an updated video. At this point, I have a good amount of flux that I want to use. Some of these numbers that I'm choosing are just arbitrary. If I'm using cobalt flux, for example, for adrenal reaction, I will be using it until I see 200 cobalt flux, so I'll be making 80 of that, and then kind of so on and so forth. And speaking of which, I actually will be making adrenal reaction serum, so I'm just going to be mashing the button, and then after I've made these 278 in total serums, I will be looking at how much super duper has procced. In the end, I'm going to be making 80 serums with cobalt, I'm going to be making 72 serums with fluorescent, I'm going to be making 86 with the yellow cake, and then I'm going to be making 40 with crimson. I am not going to be using violet in this video. So while all this is going on in the background, I would say if you can manage to do something like this over time, you'll be able to make a good amount of caps. Now, I know not everybody can afford to even find. I mean, you have to look, look through whatever forums or posts, looking for a group. If you're on like Xbox, I mean, you might be able to find people selling it. If not, you're gonna have to go and find one through the Enclave bunker, and then go to the wing that's selling the individual plans, and then after you get that learned, you can make them, and it's kind of expensive in the beginning. I do believe that the investment you make, if you know you're probably going to make some of those serums over time, then it could be worth it. So let's just say you start off with marsupial, and you know that you have crimson, and let's just say you have 10 crimson flux and you can get all the other resources to make marsupial. You can make, that many, then work on some other serums over time and do something similar like that. You'll start to be able to make a decent amount of money back. And I chose 10 because it's probably like the easiest increment to look at. If you make 10 of those serums without super duper alone, it's just 10. You could make maybe a dozen depending on how many times it pops up. That 10 can turn into 4K to 5K very easily. You can sell it for max caps if you have enough charisma and hard bargain. If you go to the vendor, you can sell maybe 2 a day, sell it, and then make 1,000. The next day, sell another 2, etc., etc. Or sell, let's say, 3 a day for maybe a little over 400. Enough that it allows you to sell 3. And then you're looking at basically 4K, profit in terms of making those. Okay, so now that I have had super duper proc, I'm sure, a ton of times, and it'll continue to do so, I'm going to start with adrenal reaction. It's 104. I'll break these numbers down as we go through. Originally, it was 80 cobalt that was used, and now we have over 20. We have 24 excess, so it's actually procced 24 times, which is going to help a ton compared to what I started with. If I go down to carnivore, it'll be 99. Originally, it was 72. So we're looking at, what, an excess of 27. So that's interesting because that actually popped up more times than the other one. So if we are looking at grounded, we have 107 made. Originally I went in with 86. So now we're looking at 21. So all these have popped off at least 20 times, so that's good. And then the last one that I made was marsupial. Marsupial, I made 40 of them, and this has popped up 51 times. So now it's popped up 11 times, and we have 51. So now, in total, it was 24, 27, 21, and 11. But after adding up all the numbers, I have an excess of 83 serums, and I originally went in trying to make 278. Again, just an arbitrary number, just because whatever excess flux that I had, but now I ended up with 361 in total. So now just some basic numbers. If I was to take 361 and sell them for 400 caps in total, I would be looking at over 144,000 caps. And if I was much more patient, and let's just say I sold 2 a day to a vendor, now this could happen on multiple characters, but selling 361 at 500 caps each would then turn into 180,000 at a bare minimum. So now, if you're also selling them for cheaper, you can obviously maybe get them sold faster to people that might need them. I would definitely not encourage putting them for sale for too much. You don't want to scare people away. And again, if you do sell them for cheaper, people might be interested in flipping them, themselves. So keep that in mind. In total, I expected to make 125,000 caps. And in the end, I'm going to be making almost up to 180,000 caps. And just with those quick numbers, let's just say at least 50,000. If I don't sell them for as much, at least 50,000 caps is because of Super Duper being procced. So now that 50,000 is over one character's capacity of carrying caps too, so keep that in mind. But again, just looking at some of these numbers, and then what I'm going to have to do now for upkeep and selling these and then transferring between characters and then taking it from there, I'll have to deal with that. But I do hope you guys found this video informative. I do hope if you are able to save up serums, or the serum recipes I should say, or save up for them, you can save up resources to do these things, make it work for you, plan ahead. Try not to make only a handful. If you want Super Duper to proc as many times as possible, you're going to have to also consider if you can make it, 10, 20, 30, or more. Try to always aim for the most you can make. I know not everybody's going to be able to make 80 at one clip or 72. And then this also makes it more feasible for people that are selling stable flux for cheap. If you look on forums again, or different posts, depending on what system you're playing on. Keep all these things in mind. Again, I do hope this is useful and informative. And keep an eye out for more videos like this. And until next time, take care, everybody.